Welcome to the Virtual Executive Director podcast. My name is Becky Caldwell. I'm your host. I'm an executive coach for nonprofit and mission-driven leaders, and I serve as the actual executive director of the Virginia Highlands Festival in Abingdon, Virginia. This week on the podcast, I am so excited to share with you my secrets to a happier board meeting. I have uncovered the treasure that is a happy and productive board meeting, and I can hardly wait to share it with you. But first, announcements. If you are in Virginia, especially like the Southern Virginia area, Lynchburg specifically, I will be speaking at the Create Virginia conference on Saturday, February 29th at 1:30. My session is called How to Make a Splash at Your Next Festival. And I'll be sharing all my hottest tips for crafters and artists on how to decide if a festival is the right one for you and what you have to offer, and how to set up a good application, and how to connect with your customers, even if you're an introvert. So I'm really excited about that conference. I'm excited about what it means for artists and their ability to make a living, because I believe artists should be able to make a living. And I hope to see you there. If you are a podcast listener and you go to the conference, please be sure to say hi. The second announcement, thank you to our Patreon supporters. I appreciate you beyond anything you could possibly know. And so I am thanking you here. Thank you, Marjorie. Thank you, Janet. Thank you, Brendan. And thank you to everyone who clicks or taps on the link for Patreon, patreon.com/virtual executive director. I mean, you know how this works, right? We operate on donations and on the kindness and generosity of the people who value what we do. No different for me with the podcast. So if I have brought you any value, I hope that you will tap that link and become a Patreon supporter. Thank you for that. Last thing, I do have a few slots left for executive coaching. What is executive coaching, and can I afford it? These are two things I ask myself a lot, and you may be asking as well. Executive coaching is really about having someone who can see the big picture of you, because it's really hard to see ourselves and our own big picture. You may be feeling stuck or frustrated, or like you just can't get traction on your career or in your organization. And that is what an executive coach can help with. And yes, it is totally affordable. You would be surprised. So just email me, Becky@virtualexecutivedirector.com, or visit the website, virtualexecutivedirector.com, to find out more. And I'll include that link in the show notes as well, because I want to help you. My goal is to empower nonprofit leaders and mission-driven leaders. And the best way, like, the podcast is awesome. I think the podcast is awesome, but really the best way that I do that, the most effective way, is through my one-on-one coaching. And I have a 13-week program that I start everybody out with doing. And this really sets the pace. It gets you some quick wins as soon as possible, and shows you what it would be like to have someone in your corner supporting you, helping you meet your goals, which can then translate to your organizational goals. So check out executive coaching with Virtual Executive Director. I would love to have a quick chat with you. Just email me and we'll schedule a discovery call, which takes about 15 or 20 minutes. And then we'll decide at that point if we want to work together, because it is a two-way street. I have to want to work with you too. All right. I cannot wait to get started. On with the show. So this past week, my organization, the Virginia Highlands Festival, had our monthly board meetings. And I looked around the room and realized we were having fun. We were happy. It was a good time. Now, okay, board meetings are already exhausting just because you have a lot to cover. We're dealing sometimes with emotional issues. Like our work is hard because we're in nonprofit. We're trying to change the world with $5 and a dream, right? But it doesn't mean that board meetings have to be drudgery or super uncomfortable or just unhappy, unproductive. In fact, the book, The Happiness Advantage by Shawn Achor, in that book, he talks about how we succeed because we're happy. We're not happy because we succeed. So happiness comes first in the world of productivity and doing well in your job. And I've wanted for a long time to have happy board meetings. It's been such a challenge, but I've noticed over the last 2 to 3 years, we've been shifting away from those stressful, contentious board meetings because of lots of reasons. And I've talked about them in some previous episodes. But I've been really working on cultivating a culture and a board that values happiness and joy and creativity and collaboration. And so this past week, when I looked around the room and realized we were having a happy, fun, joyous, collaborative board meeting, I nailed it. You guys, we finally made it to the top of Happiness Mountain. And that is what I am so excited to share with you this week. So I'm just going to talk because I didn't really prepare a whole lot with Valentine's Day and, life happening. I'm just going to talk about what made it so happy. And I think that you'll be able to apply some of these to your organization as well. And you know what? If you're already applying it to your organization, let me know, because I want to be able to share the good news with other nonprofits, and we give each other hope this way. So one of the things I know that has gone towards making it a happy board meeting is that my board president and we talk a lot. we talk almost every day in some format, whether texting or actually calling each other. And I know that sounds like a lot, but like I said, we are a working board. And so she does as much work for the organization as I do. It just happens to be unpaid. So at our weekly board meeting, most recently, we were talking about gratitude and some of the lessons I had learned from the Virginia Commission for the Arts conference. And we really honed in on that gratitude piece. And we were talking about how we really want to start every meeting with something to do with gratitude. And so we decided this past week that she would open the meeting with a toast. And at the same time, it turned out my husband had picked up a bubble machine, like $10 from Walmart. And so I brought the bubble. I'm like, I need this at my board meeting. Because we make a festival, it would probably not be appropriate to have a bubble machine if your nonprofit focuses on like sex trafficking. Okay. So, but we make a festival. And so I brought the bubble machine, and when it came time to start the meeting, I turned on the bubble machine and kind of waved it around. And then Dee Dee, who is our board president, opened with a toast, thanking them all for being there and expressing her gratitude and saying that she learned so much from everybody and is so grateful that we all get to work together. It was an awesome way to start. And this happened to be the second board meeting in a row that I had some sort of a toy with me. In January, I had a desktop, and you may have seen it on my Instagram, but a desktop like wavy guy. You see those like wavy guys like at car dealerships and retail store grand openings. And one of my board members had given me a desktop version of one with a tiny motor. And he's like about, I don't know, like 18 inches tall. And she gave me that as a joke over Christmas because we were talking about marketing. And people keep suggesting we get one of those. And I'm like, oh my God, no, we're an arts festival. Anyway, so I had that at a previous meeting and then the bubble machine. And so I guess now this is my thing, that I bring some whimsical and find some way to inject some whimsy and joy into the beginning of the board meeting. And then something came up as we were going through the meeting. I had mentioned feeling like this announcement needed a fanfare. And so someone else said, well, next meeting, bring kazoos. Guess what I ordered? Oh yeah, I ordered kazoos and they're already here. And I cannot wait to have kazoos at our next board meeting so that they can fanfare each other. I think that'll be awesome. So, okay. So what is the helpful tip in this? I would say the helpful tip from this story is to talk with your board president and establish some sort of a positive way to open your board meetings. I know a lot of meetings like Rotary and stuff open with the Pledge of Allegiance. That wouldn't be appropriate for our organization, but some sort of acknowledgement that we are all now here. We're beginning a meeting. We're all focused on the same thing. And oh, by the way, this is also fun. So whatever that would be for your organization, I think whatever it is, when you focus on gratitude, that's like an easy way into happiness. And then you start the meeting with a gratitude practice or something, but everyone feels really good right from the get-go, and they're all focused on one thing, on the meeting getting started. The next story I want to share is along the lines of people making better decisions and working more collaboratively when they are happy. And that is from Shawn Achor's book and from research into physicians. So there was a study done where physicians were given a lollipop before seeing a patient. And that made them happy. And when physicians went in to see a patient, they were happy. The physician was happy. They were, I think it was 19% more accurate in their diagnoses. And I know I want my physician to be 19% more accurate. So that study and many, many others that I am not able to quote off the top of my head, but get the book, The Happiness Advantage. I'll include a link in the show notes. The Happiness Advantage, it's so great. If you're the kind of person who needs stats and research, this will have all of that for you. And so that sort of like lightness and a playfulness and starting out with gratitude and something joyful, it helped us to work better together as an organization because we had some decisions we needed to make. We are going to be embarking on a big fundraising push over the next couple of months. We have a significant committee chair position that is still open. We've got a big fundraiser coming up. We've got our 5th annual Plein Air Abingdon Festival coming up in a couple of months. So we have a lot going on and we need people at the top of their game. And what I noticed was that people were more engaged. They were pitching in ideas more and taking on responsibility more. I remember there was a moment, and light playfulness doesn't hurt a board meeting. Like it's okay. It's okay to be light and playful with each other. At one moment, what were we? I can't remember what exactly we were talking about, but I said, okay, well, you're all talking about this thing that needs to be done. So who's going to be in charge of making sure it gets done? And everyone sat there quiet for a couple of beats. And I said, not it. like an 8-year-old playing tag. Oh yeah. I said, not it. And they all kind of laughed nervously. And I'm like, but okay, that was funny. And here's why I'm not it, you guys, because unless it has something to do at this point with money coming into our organization, I can't do it. Someone else has to take that on because that is my job. My job is to make sure we have the money in our organization for you to do all the things that you want to do. So that's why it worked for me. It might not work for you, like you definitely have to watch your tone and make sure you're in a friendly room for it. But, okay. So what does this lesson tell us? What does this story tell us that we can all maybe use? That a little playfulness doesn't hurt as long as you can back it up with a fact or with a reason why, like why you might say that. I guess if you have to have your own not it moment, just make sure that you quickly follow it up with why you're not it, why it is a bad idea for you to be it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say with that story. The next thing that I want to share with you, the next secret to a happier board meeting is something that I've been practicing for a while. But it's only recently like crystallized within our board and our organization. And it's something that I have been acting on feedback from one of my board members who said that I really need to see myself as more of a mentor to the board members, to the committee chairs, rather than doing their job. That my job is to make sure that they do their job. But not so much as a director, but more as a mentor, like a guide or a Sherpa. And I really took that to heart because I don't have time to do their job and I don't have time to supervise them like a manager. That's really our board president's job. But I am responsible for the overall quality of what we present as an organization. And as the person in charge of fundraising, if we present something crappy, we're not going to be able to raise money for next year. So I have a vested interest in them doing well, but I don't have to do it, and it's really awkward if I try and manage them into success. So what I've done is I've started thinking of my board like they're one of my clients, because like when I'm coaching someone, I can't do your job for you. I can't achieve your goal for you, but I am there to guide and to point out potential pitfalls and to point out avenues for success. I'm there to point you to ways to go up the mountain. And I found that to be really effective this particular board meeting, which made me so happy. That it's finally all kind of coming together for me. The way that this manifested is when I told them that I'm doing a fundraising bootcamp. And this is something that, so I'm in Joan Gary's nonprofit leadership lab. And periodically throughout the year, I think it's 2 or 3 times a year, they do an intensive fundraising several weeks. So I think it's 7 or 8 weeks. And last late fall into early winter was the last time we had fundraising boot camp. And I didn't finish. Because I tried to do it like all by myself, or like me and my and our board treasurer tried to do it all by ourselves. And I told the board this, I'm like, in this most recent meeting, I said, okay, it's fundraising boot camp time. Last time I didn't finish because I was an idiot and I tried to do it all by myself. This time, and this is exactly what I said to them, you'll be happy to know you did not hire an idiot. And this time I am asking for your help. And on my report, my board report, I had bulleted ways that I would be asking them for help. And I told them, I said, I recognize that before, when you have not participated so actively in fundraising efforts, that it's because I was not clear on how you could help me. This time, I am going to be very clear about how you can help me. These bullet points are ideas or things that you can just start thinking about, if you wouldn't mind. If you please start thinking about them, and then I will come to you with very specific requests as they come up. So I was able to kind of in a light and funny and hopefully charming way show them where I had made a mistake before, how I was not going to make that same mistake this time, and by the way, I needed their help, and I expected their help. Oh my gosh, they were so receptive and open to doing that, and some of them started giving me suggestions and ideas, and I'm so excited now. Boot camp starts like this coming week, and I'm really excited to get started on it, knowing that I have their support. Like I actually have their support on it. So what's the lesson here? Okay. If you have a working board, which I think a lot of my listeners do have a working board, treat them like you would treat a client or someone you're mentoring, and show them how they can help you, so that I don't know, so that they understand. Like, okay, board members are on a board because they want to be of service, they want to help, they believe in your mission and what you're doing, and to the extent that they're not helping you, you are denying them those feelings of success and accomplishment and joy and happiness that come when you help somebody else. So don't deny them that. Enable that. Make that happen, and you will have a much happier board meeting. Yeah. So the other thing that happened in that moment is when I said not it. This was 2 stories ago now. Okay, so that not it moment, and then also talking about fundraising bootcamp. My executive committee and I have clarified what my job is because it's evolved. I'm this organization's first ever executive director, and the organization has been around now for 72 years. So if that tells you anything, I just started 8 years ago. They went 64 years without an executive director. So they're fine, I don't think I'm that special in the organization, but it's a role that some of the board members still aren't quite used to having in this organization. And it was really helpful to see, like, as my job has evolved over the years, there are still some assumptions about what my job is like from 8 years ago, and that's just not accurate anymore. And we've been sort of bumping into, I like to call it stepping on rakes. When you step on a rake in the yard and it comes up and smacks you in the face. We've been stepping on some rakes where my job is concerned, and now we don't, like, all the rakes are cleaned up and put away because we have an accurate job description that was just distributed to the board, and they understand that my job is primarily to bring the resources into our organization, and then also to set up like strategy and overall quality. So, like, my job isn't necessarily to always order the porta-johns or the tents or whatever it might be, and they are taking on more of those responsibilities, which is really great. So being clear about whose job is whose is something that can lead to happiness. And that would be my 4th secret: clarity. Be very clear about who is responsible for what and what the job is. Clarity is kindness, and people are more excited and interested in helping when you can be clear about what it is that you need from them and what's expected. Okay, that was a lot, you guys. Thank you for following along with all those stories. It's been a while since I've done a semi-rambling sort of episode. I hope that maybe, I don't know, maybe this would be a good episode to listen to over a cup of coffee or a glass of wine. But if you find that you're reaching for the filing cabinet bourbon because someone has stressed you out, give me a call or drop me an email, and I'll try and help you out of that one. So if you found this helpful, please, as always, I ask, like it, share it with a friend. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Download the episodes because people like to see that. I don't do sponsors. I don't have sponsorships. So Patreon is how you can support the podcast. I don't ask you to buy things or to register for something, except for Patreon. Register for Patreon, become a Patreon supporter. And so please do share this with people in your world who would find it helpful. People who get really stressed out and worked up over their board meetings. There is a better way. There is a better way to board meeting, just so you know. And share this with, let's say, your development director, your executive director, any other sort of director level people. If you have a good relationship with your board president, please share it with them because they might like to have happier board meetings too. And anyway, we shine brighter when we shine together. See you next time.